Morning everybody, and welcome to the first of our Scan Pro Audio webcasts. This is something of an experiment in that we've never done it before, but we hope if we get it right that it's the first of a long line of these. This morning we're going to cover a couple of topics. We've got our own ruthless producer, Mr. Simon Lyon, who's going to take you through some of the new features of Ableton 9. And we've got Luke from Korg, who's going to be looking at KingKorg. That's going to be around about 12 o'clock, maybe 10 past, something like that. If you are watching online, there is a chat room. You need to go there and sign up for an account. We didn't think you had to, but it looks like you have to at the moment. We will get that right in the future, but please do go on there and join in. We have a moderator who will look at the questions coming through and fire them at our presenters as they come through. So if you bear with us, hopefully this is going to be, as I say, the first of many, and I'm going to hand you over to Simon Lyon, who's going to be looking at Ableton 9. Simon.
Thanks, Steve. Okay, morning everybody. We're going to take you through Ableton Live 9, and it's the new features. I'm going to sort of explain it as if you've never seen Ableton before, and also refer to some existing features that you may use if you use 8 or any previous versions. I'll just get straight in there. I'm going to take it from a complete blank. This is what you see when you first open the screen. So you can see my cursor here. This is the look as soon as you open it up. Currently it opens 2 MIDI tracks, 2 audio tracks. Hopefully you can hear me okay out there, no problems. So straight away, if you look at this, if you're new to Ableton, it's actually much easier for you because everything's labeled. Previous versions were just icons. So now you've got explanations, you've got instruments, audio effects, everything's clearly labeled. This is to help workflow when you're working with everything. So if you look here, you've got drums, everything that comes with Ableton. There's a lot more kits. And you can download lots of free packs now. The aim with Ableton now is to have a lot more sounds within it without using any external third-party plugins and things. So straight away, if you want to use the new search, the search is now a lot faster. If I wanted to find a bass sound or a bass effect, all I need to do is type bass in here. And what it does, it goes through every part of the browser, and then it finds anything to do with bass. So if I click on instruments now, it will only find bass ones in every single one. Those of you used Ableton before, that's quite handy. So if I go to analog, which is Ableton's analog synth, it will only show me bass sounds. It's really handy and really fast if you're looking for a particular sound. If I wanted one of those, I can click on it. The advantage of the new Ableton Live is, if you click, it will give you a preview of that sound. In the past version, you couldn't actually do that. You could sort of hot swap it with something playing, but now if you click it, it'll give you some kind of sound. And it's just a sample of one note, but it gives you an idea of what it'll be. So if you like one of those, just as before, if you double click it, it will open that into the nearest MIDI slot, and there you've got that. So that's really quick for finding it. I'll just show you something else. If I reset that now, so there's nothing in the top now, if I go out of here and went back in there, instruments will now show all of the instruments. So you've got synth, lead, keys, things like that. So it just helps you to refine it and find it quickly. As I said, to those people who it's new to, they probably just expect that to be normal anyway. But for Live 8 users, it's a lot handy and a lot faster. It's kind of 2 windows as well. So just like your normal operating system, you can see when you click on something, it's in that way. So you've got audio effects there. You can see quickly rather than open all these menus on one side. So that's just one of the quick features to do with the browser. Everything else is pretty much the same, but you have got these packs. On the previous version, you had just 3 little icons where you could assign folders to find all your samples. Now you've got places. If I just move this one down here, so you can see clearer, you've got places. Now places is where all your user library, which is anything that you've created, any samples, anything used before. You've got packs, which are the ones you can download. You've got your core library. And I've got Max for Live Essentials there, which I'll talk about later. Anything that you install and you can download from Ableton's website. You see here it says get more packs at ableton.com. There's lots of free packs and they're really good quality. They're by a lot of third-party people who've teamed up with Ableton to make some great samples. There's some like retro synths I've got there and orchestral strings. But you can get things like vinyl samples, hip-hop packs, all kinds of stuff. And the link's right there. I won't click it now, but it would take straight to where the packs are. Your current project, whatever you're working on, anything that you record, any loops, samples, MIDI, it all goes here. So if you want to drag it back, copy stuff. It all goes to one place now. Now here, this says samples. That's my own folder, which I've added. You can add as many folders as you want now. If you click Add Folder, it takes to your computer, and you can add that. Any sort of DJs, you can have all your MP3s there. Any sample folders, project folders you have on your hard drive, you can just add them there. Really quick way of using it. So that's just a quick overview of the browser. It's very important, obviously, for your workflow. People have used it before. You will probably find it just quicker to use. And I said if you're new to it, it's all really easily labeled. If you're new to the program, if you click at the bottom here, you've still got the info view. So when you click on anything, it tells you what it is. It tells you that's track activator, that's arm, volume. It just tells you what everything is. So if you're new, you've got this little help in the corner, and it's really useful. Also, if you're new, you've still got all the help files. If you click Help View, it opens a panel on the right-hand side. What's new in live, takes you through all the features. A tour, I mean, it's really good. If you've never used it before, I thoroughly recommend that. It comes with a program. You can see everything there. It's an Ableton Live set. You can do that, experiment with things. I do recommend following that. I'll show you some of the new features, effects, and one of the main things that a lot of people are talking about is the audio to MIDI. I'm going to demonstrate that with Steve shortly. But I'll just take you through some really quick things that I find great. If I just go to my samples, I'll just put a drum loop on or something, just something so you can see. So I'm previewing just as normal there. Hopefully you can hear me with the balance over that there. So I'll just click drums, get that in, double click, just as usual. Everything's pretty much similar here with audio. There are a few extra things on the MIDI view, the session screen here, but nothing too new there. But what I'll do, I'll play the drums, and I want to show you one of the things that I find really useful already is the EQ effect. We used to have EQ8, which is still called that. If you click on Audio Effects, click on EQ8, sorry, double click there, it'll open this. Now what you used to have, it looks quite similar. There are a few new little presets, but if I play this now, you can see you've got the Spectral Analyzer behind it. Normally you had to open two separate plugins. Spectrum is still available as a separate there. And if you double click the window, you get a nice big view. You could do that on the other one, but now you've got this built into the EQ. If you double click that, you do get the EQ, a nice big screen. Users of Cubase and Logic have this kind of resizable screens, but now you can do this on Ableton. I'll just do a quick overview of the EQ. I'm using the new EQ. You've got a much more visual representation of the sound. When you're producing things, especially if you're working with drums, bass, it's really handy to also see what's happening as well as hear it, depending on what headphones or monitors you're using. This way you can visualize the sound as well. What I just showed before we cut out is if I'm playing a drum loop here, as well as making it full screen, you can look at the monitor there, and you can isolate frequencies. As long as a blue light is clicked there to audition or monitor, you click any frequency band, and you can then isolate that frequency and focus on the EQ. So obviously, many of you use all different styles of music, but the idea is to just look at the sound, use whatever guidelines, whatever style of music you're playing with, just look at individual frequencies. So that's really, really handy. If any of you used Ableton Live 8 before, that's a really neat upgrade. So I'll take that off there, I'll double click. There's lots of ways. As I said before, if you open the info view, it will go over and tell you all the different frequencies and the different new buttons. So this is a quick overview, so I don't want to go into too deep. Hopefully this will be one of many. I'll focus on individual things as we go on. Lots of other nice things too. The compressor has had a little upgrade as well. I won't go into too much detail about what compression does, but for those people who know it already, I'll just show you. It helps to reduce the dynamic range of your music. If I use it on these drums now, it's now got 3 different views. It shows you there. This one is the collapse view, transfer curve, and activity view. So now you've got a simple version. This lowers your threshold there, and it shows how much the gain is being reduced. You've got a little meter there, and that's your output gain. So that's the more traditional view you had before. Again, you can just move this now. It will change your threshold, your ratio. Really handy. And you've also got this view, which is great. This shows how much the compressor is working, and it's again, it's a visual representation. I can move the threshold here by moving this, and you can see it's moving up there. And this is great for controlling the dynamic level of all your instruments. I'll do a session on mixing and getting things sounding much more professional, but I'll just basically show you that the compressor's got a nice new look. Also the gate as well, similar sort of thing. If you want to gate out or not let through certain sounds, particularly drums or vocals, if there's any background noise, that's what a gate basically allows you to do. I'll just quickly show you that. It works better on individual sounds, but I'll just show you this one. Again, it's got a nice graphical representation. And basically, it's working already, actually. If I just turn it off there, the way the threshold was set, it's only letting the loudest sound, which is the snare. If you listen to that now, it's focusing on that. And you can see how much you want it to hold onto the sound. You can open it up there. And again, nice graphical representation. You can see everything going on there. So those are kind of little basics. There are many other features, but those, as far as actually using it, previous users will find them nice little features. I'm going to now show you one of the features that's probably more impressive, and using this feature, it's probably the best way. You wouldn't even need to use, I've no MIDI keyboard here, I've no launch pad or anything like that. I'm going to use Steve with his guitar signal straight into my sound card. I'm going to show you the audio to MIDI, which basically means recorded sounds, drum loops, anything you've got in your library, you can transfer into MIDI. Those people who are not too sure what MIDI means, it's musical instrument digital interface, or basically turning music that you play into ones and zeros. So I'm going to basically turn what Steve's playing into ones and zeros, so I could turn his guitar into a piano, I could turn it into strings. So I'll just show you something really simple. So first of all, I'm going to click on any audio track, and I'm going to arm that track. So go to my inputs and outputs, and the guitar is in 1. So just give me a signal, please, Steve. Should be able to hear that now. On number 1, there we go. Try that now. For some reason, by default, I've noticed this particular one, it puts monitor to off. Usually, it's set to auto. If that happens when you use 9, you can actually put it all back on auto, and you can save your current project as default. Just very quickly to do that, I'll just show you. If you go to look and feel, save current set as default, so you can customize your own template. If you're using audio a lot, you may want to have just audio channels, so you can customize this. If you just set it up however you want it and put save, every time you open Ableton it will be set up just the default. Just a quick note for people who didn't know that was there. It's very handy. So here's Steve now. Just give me a strum, please. Now, what you can do on this, when you've recorded audio, you've got 3 new ways. You can convert audio to harmony, which is chords, multiple notes played together, as melody, which is individual notes like singing or a trumpet, violin, anything that's a solo instrument. And you can also convert audio to drum kits. So I'll show you the 3 different ones, different ways. First of all, I'm going to get Steve to play just some strummed chords like a guitarist would play. If you don't play an instrument, what this will help you to do is you could get a guitarist playing or any existing recording, and if you wanted to know the notes, what was playing or what key it was in, it would actually analyze the audio and tell you what the notes were. So I'm not going to look what Steve's playing, and it will tell me. So if I just press record, Steve, just in free time, play any chords you like. So he's playing something quite rhythmical here, quite funky. Okay, I'll just take a small bit. Thanks, Steve. So now if I press play again now, there's my waveform. So I'll just make the first chord he played set 1 here. I'll just do that so it starts from there. So there we go. And that was his end bar there. I'll just click that and move it in. So what I can do now, just take the view down for you so you can see it. If I right click on here now, you've got these new options. Now you used to have just slice a new MIDI track. I've done a video for Scan on the YouTube channel. If you have a look at that, I do go over that on there. So have a look. It is on Ableton Live 8, but the feature's exactly the same. But you've got 3 new options now. You've got convert harmony to new MIDI track, which I said before, harmony is notes played simultaneously. So it could be anything that you could get singers all playing different notes. It could be an orchestra. In this case, because Steve played chords, I want to get the harmony as well. I'll go over the other two later, but I'll just click on that one now. So it analyzes the audio and it converts it to ones and zeros, which then you can change to any instrument you want. Roughly, it takes about 5 seconds, I've noticed, on a sort of a quad core, maybe less. On a dual core, sort of 5 seconds, so it's not long, really. And what it does by default, when you convert to harmony, it puts a grand piano sound on. So this is basically open one of Ableton's racks there. You can adjust the sound and everything, but I'm not really interested in that at the moment, so I'll just minimize that. If I double click, this is basically what it's turned into. If I press fold here, it will just focus on the notes. Now what we've found practicing this is it does get some of the string noise and try and turn it into notes. So there will be some notes that we don't want. I'll just play the original so you can hear what it was like first. That was original. And now this is the MIDI. Now, I'll just play it. So there are a few notes that we don't want, but the main important thing here, if you don't play an instrument and you wanted to take the groove and feel of a real instrument, you've got the chords outlined there, you've got the rhythm, so you can then convert that to anything you want. While I'm in this MIDI mode, I'll just quickly show you some of the new MIDI features. Say, for example, I don't want this note here. Was that part of the chord, an A sharp? Was that in there? No, so that is a note we don't want. If you right mouse click there, you can deactivate any A sharp at that octave will not play. So there's only one there. There may be some low notes we don't want. If you click on it, as long as you've got this monitor pressed, you can hear the notes. When I move one, I click on one, it'll play. If not, you won't hear anything. If I activate it, so that includes any note you click. If you know that it was a wrong note, then you can just deactivate that note. So that's actually common in all the other Ableton versions. But what you've got now is, say for example, I like the first two bars. Note Steve's timing is very good actually. You can quantize that if you want, but we don't need to here. I'm just going to focus on those two bars. I'm going to keep those, and I'm going to get rid of those, okay, just for this experiment. It's all very good. What you can do now, if I press Control A, I can highlight the whole pattern, and now there's a few extra options under notes for MIDI. Now these, if you're using MIDI a lot, very important. One is duplicate loop. It literally just duplicates everything and copies it. You can actually do that using Control D, but what this does is it keeps the loop brace around it so you can see and work with it a lot easier. So I've actually done that twice. On the second one here, I'm going to highlight this. Two new patterns. There's Inv, which is invert, and reverse. So if I press invert now, it will literally make a reflection on a horizontal axis, if you like, and it'll invert all of those notes. So now you get this. It's completely different. Depending on how you want to work and how you're composing, you can invert notes, and then if I want to, I can then reverse it. So now I've made something new from Steve's chord. It can sound good, it can sound bad, but it's just a really fast way of inventing new material from something already existing. So you can also resize MIDI notes. You can stretch them. This is something that you could do with audio, but not with MIDI. So I can actually stretch, make it quarter of the time fast, or I can just put it back to where it was. As usual, if you do anything wrong, you're going to go back. Control Z's always there. As again, you can stretch it, turn it upside down, back to front, whatever you want to do. So lots of new MIDI features. Also, really quickly, you've got a transpose button in the corner now. You used to have to highlight all the material, and if you wanted to transpose it, you had to just drag it up and down or move the cursor key. Now you can select the range. It tells me that it's going from G to a high F sharp. I can now move that, transpose it however I want. Different octaves very quickly there. Alright, so that's just a quick overview of MIDI. I'll go back to the audio to MIDI. And that was harmony, which was changing Steve's chord playing into harmony, different notes. Now we're going to look at just melody. So this time, Steve, if you just want to play just single notes, so I'll just arm your channel. 1 second. Just check you coming through. Okay, so just single notes this time. So this could be a guitar, a vocalist, any solo note instrument. So whenever you're ready, Steve. Okay, so we just got a little melody there. Stop it, look at the notes there. I'll just make that start from there just for ease there. So we've got this. If I wanted to boost the signal there, I can just put the gain up. But we're actually going to convert it into, right mouse click, I'm going to convert it into a melody. By default, it opens, I think it's an analog synth. If you've got a track already open, I'll show you what you can do as well. We'll just wait for this to convert. So now this is going to convert the melody. That's what it's showing up. Now, do you know, Steve, if you played those notes, did you start on a B?
I started on an A.
All right, okay. So it's got, actually, that could be string noise. That one. I'm going to play it from there anyway, so I'll just try it anyway. There we go. Yeah. So it's not bad. It did get some of these little grace notes there. That's turned out pretty good. What you can do though now, if you wanted to change the sound of that, by default it's put it in as an analog synth. If you press play there, I'm just going to change the tempo actually, a bit faster. So what you can do now, but by default it opens this rack which is analog. As I mentioned before, new to Ableton Live, if I go to instruments now, and if I wanted to make it like a synth lead or anything like that, if I go to my instrument rack, or what I could do, I could just type synth there like I showed you before. So if I type synth, it will then only show me any of the instruments that are actually a synth. So if I open operator, it shows synth, rhythmic or brass. Instrument rack, I'll go to that one, brass or vintage. So now by clicking on these, it gives you an idea of what it's going to sound like. Let's go for that one. Okay, so if I double click that now, it will insert that sound onto the channel. So now you'll get. It's quite low. So if I wanted to change the octave on that now and make it sound a bit higher, I can just literally grab that and move it up. Move up to higher F there. So play it now. Octave higher. So the idea with this feature is you can take any solo instrument and basically transfer the MIDI from audio into MIDI. You could do that, say, vocalist, anything like that. One other feature is you can turn the audio into a drum rack as well. I'll just get a drum beat for you. If I go to my samples there, I'll just cancel that synth because it's still looking for synth. I need to reset the browser there. Go to samples, get a drum beat. So with this, the idea here, if you've got your favorite drum break, your favorite hip hop or drum and bass, anything like that where there's a particular groove that you really want to use that, and look at what's inside it, where the kick drums are, where the bass drum is, the bass drum kick, the hi-hats, each part of the drums, what it'll do is it will analyze that. Now I think it's set by default to pick up a kick drum, snare drum and a hi-hats. If there's anything else, it does show it, but it mutes it. So what it'll do now, if I right mouse click and I want to convert drums to new MIDI track. So if you have a quick look at what it looks like, you can see lots of kick drums, snare. It's quite a straight pattern and there's a fill at the end. It's 8 bars. So if I right mouse click on here, convert drums to new MIDI track. So it analyzes that. Now by default, it opens one of Ableton's, I think it's 606 kit, which is like a sort of classic drum machine. So if I click here, yeah, it's a 606 kit. So you've got these, it's a drum rack. There's your kick drum, snare. It's like a drum machine. So then it's converted that. We have a look at the MIDI. It's quite straight there. You can see lots of velocity information, which is really important, is how the drums, how hard they were hit. That's one thing I didn't mention before. When Steve was playing, it also picked up the velocity. You can adjust that, but that's part of the human feel when it's being played back. So this is the drum beat. I'll play it individually and alongside the original. So this is what is the converted MIDI. So that's what it's got. Now, obviously the sound of the kit, you can change that. If I play the original groove alongside it, I'll just play those two together. So, you've got, I'll just mute them so you can see the difference. That's the MIDI one, and that's the original. So obviously it's a rock drum kit, you're getting rock drums there. So there's lots of ways you could use that. I mean, lots of sort of bands have used, you could get the original drum track and you could get an electronic version over the top to get different sounds, expand on it, or you could replace the drums, all different kinds of things. If I just click on that channel again, there's your 606 one. If I just look through, go to drums, all the different kits, click on drums there, there's your different drums. You've got, I'll just find one that's, these are the core kits there. You've got like LD, which is like a Lynn drum, which is another famous drum machine. You've got a 909. You've got a session kit, which is a normal kit. Click that. So that's probably close to the sound. If I double click that, if I double click that now, it will change this. So now you've got a little bit more like the original, really. And again, if you double click it, you can see the information. If you wanted to transfer some of those sounds, if you wanted to change the snare, wanted to hit a cowbell instead, you can just pick it up, move it. You can do all sorts, move around with it. So it's just an overview. I'll have to leave the creativity up to you to do that one. You can do all sorts. You could beatbox into a microphone, then turn it into that drum kit. You could sing a bass line in, and then turn it into a synthesizer. The possibilities are endless. Yeah, have we got any questions from the forum? Yes. Yes, obviously you can open an 8 session. I've converted most of mine now. I've been using the beta for a few months. No problems transferring all your material into it, but obviously you can't go backwards. Once you've saved a set in 9, you've got to stick with 9 then, because I'm working with other people who haven't got 9 yet, so I have to keep doing things in 8. But yeah, it's fully compatible. You actually have on here, because we've not got the 8 library on, under places, all your previous presets are stored under Ableton Light library, where you've got the user library, it will then say Ableton 8 library will show up. So everything, even your presets, are compatible. Because the different versions, what I'm using at the moment is the suite, which is the full package with all the samples, all the packs. I think there's something like 13 gigabyte that comes with it. We do intro and the Ableton Live 9 standard. So there's 3 different ones. If you go to the Ableton website, there's a list of features. You can compare the features to see what you need. But I've got to say the audio to MIDI is only on the 2 higher ones. So if you want all the full features, if you're thinking of trying it, you can download the trial and you can use it fully functional for a month. I would try that first. So hopefully that's given you an overview of Ableton Live 9. The idea is to focus more on specific parts in the future, look at specific styles of music, ways to record. Hope that makes sense. Any more questions, just send them to the website. Our contacts on the Pro Audio section. I'm Simon. We've got Steve and Tom as well. So do ask us any questions. That's what we're here for. Thanks for listening, guys, and hope to see you again soon.